Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to my garden. Once again, we're out here to do a how to grow something type video. We're going to build up a nice library of these since, why not? Anyhow, today we're going to be talking about these garden peas. You might know them as shell peas. You can also pretty much use the same advice with, sugar snap peas and snow peas for the most part. They're pretty much the same. It's important to realize that these are different than sweet peas, ornamental sweet peas, or Lathyrus odoratus or something like that. I'm probably saying that completely wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not good at that. But these are different. These are the edible ones. Those other ones are not edible and not safe to eat. We're focusing on our kitchen garden peas. Now, the first year I gardened, my peas were an absolute failure because I had no clue when to plant these things. I planted them at the same time I planted beans in the summer, and it was too hot. They didn't even germinate. It was bad. Over the years, I've thankfully figured out when to plant these things, and let me tell you what, these things are delicious. If you've got a kid that was like, I don't like vegetables, blah, or if you're like that, because I'm like that, not gonna lie, shell peas are the thing. These things are seriously so sweet and delicious when they fresh out the garden. Like, oh my gosh, these are so good. If I'm being honest, I think they kind of remind me of grapes. Like, they don't taste like grapes, but something about the texture just reminds me of grapes. They are so good. Anyhow, if you're in zone 6 or 7-ish like me, once you figure out when to plant these things, they are totally easy and for the most part pretty carefree, which is awesome. In order to be successful with peas, you want to plant them early. That's the key. They love cool weather. They are a cool season crop. If you're like me and your summer heats up really fast and you have a really short spring, you don't have time to wait. I usually direct sow my peas around March 1st here in zone 6B7, and sometimes even a few weeks sooner than that if I'm having like a particularly warm year because, I can't wait. Winter sowing these is also an option, but with most round seeds, winter sowing can be a little bit trickier because they have a tendency to rot when it's wet and cold. So I don't really recommend that you would use the winter sowing method with this. I think direct sowing is best. Peas are always the very first thing that I direct sow into my garden, and it is always such an exciting event because I cannot wait to start gardening usually. The time it takes for the peas to germinate will depend on your soil temperature. A cold soil temperature, it'll take a lot longer. And you want to make sure that it's not too cold because, like I said, rotting can be a major issue. I think, in general, 50 degrees is a pretty good temperature for your soil to be to direct sow peas. I know some people like to soak their seeds overnight in water first before planting out. I personally used to do this, and I had success with it. But these days, I've gotten away from it somehow, and I didn't do it. I haven't done it. But these days, I've somehow gotten away from it, and I haven't done it for, I don't know, the past couple years. And it's worked out fine either way. It really just depends on you and where you live and what your weather is like. Of course, if you live somewhere with mild temperatures, you're going to be able to grow peas, and they're going to be absolutely gorgeous. You won't have to start super early like I do here, in March. And you'll probably be able to have a little bit of a longer harvest before your plants start to get stressed out by the heat. Once the plants have started to grow, they are pretty carefree and pest-free. I usually don't notice any kind of problems. One thing to keep in mind is, however, that they do need a trellis to climb up, something to vine up. There are some supposed bush types, but I've never really, found that those didn't need trellising too. So I always put a trellis next to them to climb up. Some varieties are taller than others. There are, 3-foot varieties. Some get to up to 6 feet. I've never really had success with the taller ones. I just stay with the shorter varieties. In my garden, I like to space them pretty close, and they are, for the most part, very forgiving. I put seeds at about 3 inches apart, and they seem to do really well and give me a really nice harvest of peas when it comes time for picking. Depending on what type you've planted, it'll kind of dictate when you want to pick those. Of course, snow peas will be picked at a different time than things like shell peas. When I'm picking my shell peas, I'll just make sure that they're nice and full and ready to eat. After the plants have produced all I want, I let the pods go to seed so I can save my seeds. I let the entire plants completely die back and turn brown and go completely dry. I then harvest the seed pods. I can save the seeds. And of course, I can work the plants back into my soil. peas are nitrogen fixing. If you've never planted peas before, you might want to use an inoculant. Personally, I've never used an inoculant for my peas, and I've always had really nice success. But that is an option, and I felt like it needed to be mentioned. Of course, I'm sure there are tons of resources out there to give you more information on that. Hopefully this video was somehow helpful. If it was, I'd love it if you would subscribe. I'm putting new videos out pretty regularly, and usually it's garden stuff, cooking, soap making, different things. I hope y'all are having a real great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.